Ever since Bill and Ben left, Thomas and Percy now had to deliver the china clay to the harbour for extra work. They didn't like this at all. One rainy evening, Thomas was finishing his last train for the day. He was thinking about resting in his shed and wasn't watching where he was going. A gate on the level crossing was moving and the rails were slippery. With a loud crack, Thomas slipped along the line, crashed into the moving gate and into a field. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Thomas's front was badly damaged. The driver soon went for help. He returned with bad news. "I'm sorry, Thomas," he said. "John the Crane can't reach you, but don't worry, a lorry is coming to pick you up tomorrow and will take you to the works." "Thank you, sir," said Thomas wearily, but he felt worried inside. That night, Thomas had a nightmare. He dreamt that the bigger engine saw him on the lorry, and they were laughing and giggling at him. The next morning, the lorry arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning. It hooked a steel cable onto Thomas and pierced him on its transporter. Soon after, they were driving along the countryside, and time to enjoy it too. But after a couple of miles or so, Thomas began to feel bored. At last, houses began to appear on both sides of the road. "Perhaps this is the town where the works is," Thomas said to himself. The driver soon stopped and went to find a phone for directions. A policeman came up to Thomas, but Thomas didn't know who he is. "Hello," said Thomas. "Forget the hello," said a policeman rudely. He wrote something in his notebook and went round to the front of the lorry. When the lorry driver came back, he looked very cross. He slammed the door and they drove off. A day later, when Thomas returned from the works, he came back to Titmouth Sheds. "So, how did it go?" asked Edward. "Well," answered Thomas, and he told the others all about a man with a flat cap. When Thomas finished telling his story, the engines laughed and laughed. "This will make the fat controller stay," laughed Emily. "Thomas got a parking ticket," added Gorton. But Thomas didn't bother to hear them. He was too busy pretending to be asleep.